so funny.
Oh my goodness, she brought me that one day, and I wanted to just show that to everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Scientifically Beautiful, which is on the Life is Tough, but You Can Be Tougher network. Welcome back. This is Scientifically Beautiful, and I am Dr. Rom. Today, I get to interview one of my best friends, Mimi Pohlman.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
I'm so glad that you're here, Mimi. Thank you for taking the time because I know you're really busy. Yes,
I am. I'm moving this week, so I carved out a little piece for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How's that going?
Good. It's not going very well. It's overwhelming. And I want to run away.
Mimi and I are friends. We each have 3 boys, and I have a daughter. But Mimi has 3 sons that are amazing. And so, Mimi, I would love for you just to give a little bit about your life and you before we start really getting into this episode.
Well, more than anything, I'm a mother. I'm a God-fearing mother and a wife. And I live a pretty simple life, but it's a beautiful life. And I'm retired. I no longer work anymore. I say I'm retired because I no longer work and I take care of our home. But I've had very rigorous careers in the past, and I've always lived somewhat of a jet-setting life. So I like being boring now and in a little under the radar and just doing my stuff for our family.
Well, first of all, Mimi is not boring. I will say that because we're friends, and I don't think either one of us are boring. She definitely knows me. If anyone ever wants to know secrets about me, don't go to Mimi because she might tell you.
I won't.
Mimi, tell the audience a little bit, if you don't mind, about your past career, and then we're going to talk about some life is tough issues. But I would love for you to get into what you did before you went into this career, which is raising kids, because that's a full-time job.
It is a full-time job. In the past, well, to start off, I was a journalism major, and I was in sports journalism. So I worked for CNN, Sports Illustrated for a while, and then moved to New York City and worked at MSG Network for a little bit, and also for Sandbox.com, which was the first online fantasy sports. And then eventually we were bought out by CBS Sportsline. So I have somewhat of a history in sports and in journalism. There just wasn't a lot of money there, at least at the entry-level positions that I was in. And so I switched to real estate and did really well in real estate for a while, and then ended up having 3 babies very quickly. And so I stayed home for about 4 years, and then I went back as in sales for a very large technology company and ended up working my way up to managing the Southeast for one of the divisions. It's an internationally known large technology company, and did that for a very long time. And I will contest that working full-time and covering 7 states and traveling all the time, raising 3 boys with a nanny, was 1,000 times easier than staying home and raising 3 boys without any help.
Yeah, because it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
And you married an athlete, correct?
Ex-athlete.
I'm also friends with her husband.
Yeah, let's be clear. Let's be clear.
But Scott holds a record at Auburn in basketball.
Yes, he played basketball at Auburn, and he, I think, started more games than anybody else. And when he left, I think he was the 10th all-time scorer there. So yeah, we're proud of his career at Auburn, and Auburn has been fantastic to my family. They've really been great.
Well, I mentioned that because I think part of at least my life raising kids is transporting kids, even when they're older. It's just a lot of work. And so, in fact, when you have 3 boys that are athletes, it can be next to impossible when you're the one doing the transporting without anyone helping, to your point.
Yes, it's like juggling and then somebody throws you a crying baby.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And then I've always told people this when I've stayed home and worked. I've done different things throughout my life. A lot of people don't know that because I think they think, well, Christina worked the whole time, and that's not true. I took breaks. I worked for amazing companies that gave me breaks. Mm-hmm. Even one company gave me 9 months because, I was working for the company. They wanted me to come back. But I agree with you. When you don't have help and you're doing everything at home. It's almost a thankless job. But I will say this till the day I die. I think mothers are some of the best doctors. I know they maybe don't have the MD or PhD behind their name, but your mothers that care and are intelligent and are engaged in their kids' lives, they figure out what are the best things for their children. And one of the things I've always respected about you, and I respect about you, is that you are one of those mothers that carry on your shoulders the health and wellness of your family, and you don't rely on just a doctor or a scientist. You actually dig in, and I've seen you do it a million times. I've always been amazed at it, and actually you send me information that helps me understand more because I'm on panels, with COVID and just different things, and you've always educated me. And I think one of the reasons is you're a fantastic mother, and I think another reason is you've had some health issues in your personal life.
I have, and the health issues that I've had have taught me to be an advocate for myself, whether I'm in the hospital, which I've been hospitalized many times, or I'm just in a doctor's office or at a pharmacy. You have to be your own advocate. There's no advocate that follows you around and tells a doctor, no, etc. And so being an advocate for myself has really paved the way for me being an advocate for my family and for our kids.
And your health issues were from 9/11, correct? Or some of them?
That is correct, yes. I am a survivor of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, and it left me with chronic sinusitis and then 4 conditions within my lungs: bronchiectasis, COPD, ABPA, and asthma.
Which are, just so everyone knows, that those are very tough diseases to overcome, especially at your age, and you have to continuously look after your body.
Yep. It's continuous maintenance.
All the time.
Yes.
If you want to have a healthy, life. And I've always, you do that. And like you said, you also look after your kids. And so one of the reasons I wanted for Mimi to be on the show was she's an amazing person, but she's also been an advocate, like she said, for herself and for others, not only just her own children, but also in the community. So you've even been interviewed about the vaccine and different belief systems as it pertains to that, correct?
Correct. By the local Fox channel here in Nashville, and then nationally CBS for their national news. And then somehow a newspaper or a magazine in North Carolina reached out to me last week, and so I did another interview with them as well. So yeah, I have been very vocal. I think that the reason why they've approached me to interview is because I'm not afraid to speak my truth. And it's a very different world we live in these days, and people are afraid to sometimes speak their true truth to themselves because they're afraid of being doxxed or losing their job, or their husband losing their job, or maybe be shamed at school or friends or whatever. And I have never been one to shy away from who I am or shy away from being vocal about who I am and what I stand for.
I watched the video on the news about, basically 2 opinions on the vaccine. And as a scientist, I don't talk about this a lot. In fact, but of course with Mimi, I'm very honest about my opinion. I have worked, with vaccines, worked for companies that produced them like Pfizer, J&J. And I think pharmaceutical industry saves so many people's lives. As I know, we both share that opinion. You have to have pharmaceutical products to help people. I think natural supplements and vitamins actually help people just as much by supporting their health of their body. And I know, again, this is a belief that Mimi and I have shared. And when the vaccines came out, I'm one of the scientists that I've been nervous because I've shared this with Mimi. They try to destroy scientists and doctors' careers based on an opinion, and you can't even speak the truth, right? And so I feel like you've been a voice of reason. It's so odd to me, not just as a scientist, but as a mother, as a person on this earth, that I can't have an opinion as it pertains to things that have to do with the vaccine. It's almost like you can have an opinion that you need the vaccine, but you can't have an opinion that maybe you shouldn't take the vaccine because there hasn't been a history on it. And it was interesting when I watched, and I don't know if I've told you this, but when I watched the interview with you and I went home that night, I was mad because I thought, okay, they made it look like Mimi's this person that has had this perfect life and has money and has this perfect family, and then the other person maybe didn't have an easy life, and they don't know your story.
Well,
right?
I told them my story, so it's interesting how the media works, right? They spin it to whatever direction they want it to what they want to spin it. So what they didn't air is that I have a history of severe reactions to pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
So badly that I was hospitalized and put in the cancer ward because they didn't know what to do with me after taking a drug that you actually worked on.
Yeah.
And I've had several surgeries to help me with some of the tendon ruptures that, to recover from the drugs that I took. And these are prescription drugs, pharmaceuticals that are legal and they're prescribed all the time. And there are people that sometimes have reactions to it. Now, it wasn't just one drug that I've had a reaction to. My list of reactions when I go to a new doctor and have to fill it out, I mean, it's a laundry list. There's 12 or 13 different medications on there. So because of my history with such intolerance to so many different drugs and not knowing every last drop of what's in the vaccine, for me personally, it's a choice that I'm making to not have the COVID vaccine because of my history with reactions to pharmaceuticals. So that's again, it's a health reason, it's a personal reason, but they didn't say that on air. They made it just sound like I was maybe being a difficult mom. I don't know.
Well, and then they had a mother worried about her kids who had
autoimmune issues.
Autoimmune, and I've had a lot of issues, right? Yeah. I've had cancer, Lyme's disease. I mean, I get a lot of health issues, and I also have had allergic reactions to certain things. And for me, personally, from being in the industry and working in the industry, it has not been a choice that I've made for myself. And also because I understand the numbers and statistics with children, they would almost get, be sick from a cold more than they would from this virus.
Correct.
And
the flu kills more children every year than COVID.
Yeah. But it's almost like you can't even say it, because if you say it, then you're the enemy.
Then I'm anti-vax
yeah.
and everything. And I'm not anti-vax. My children have had the majority of the vaccines that are suggested by pediatricians. It's just that this one is a little different. It's a different type of technology. It's a nanobiotechnology. I mean, that's your wheelhouse, and it's something that has never been used other than very specific cancer treatments. Which again, I think it's almost catered to that person with their DNA. That's the only time this type of nanotechnology has been used. So I prefer to wait a little bit longer. It seems a bit rushed to market, and most of the vaccines that all the vaccines that my kids have taken, they were tested for a minimum of 8 to 10 years before they went to market. And so that's where my comfort zone is.
Yeah. Yeah, I always say this because I've traveled to so many countries that I've taken probably more vaccines than anyone, and multiple times, because when, you can't even go into Nigeria unless you have the card, and last time I went, I couldn't find my card, so I had to take all of the vaccines, and I'm being honest, they made me sick, but I know the goal was to protect me. I hope that's the goal anyway, every time, you take a vaccine, but with this particular one, because I do understand the technology, I'm like you. I just think there needs to be a longer testing period. I also think that we've got to look at both sides of it. We have to talk about really gathering the numbers, not just in the people that can die from COVID, but also the people that can have a reaction from the vaccine, because we've seen in the animal trials and in the human that have taken it, we have some issues with blood clots and different things because of the technology.
And the myocarditis with they're saying with young males, but it's actually happened to everybody. It's not just specific. I think it happens more with young males, but it could happen to an older female as well. Yeah. It's not just specific to younger males. But the thing that really opened my eyes to this whole COVID vaccine, and I'm cautious about the words that I use, but I almost want to use the word propaganda, because I feel that the news is coming out with a narrative, and you can't disagree with that narrative. But it was well over a year ago, and because of my health issues, I followed several natural doctors on YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, on social media. And I credit a lot of my health to these natural doctors that talk about different things for your lungs or different things for your sinuses and just different ways to build up your immune system and be healthy. And I noticed when the COVID vaccines were first starting to be tested and these doctors were speaking out about this type of technology, they were being completely shut down and taken off of social media. So that was a big eye-opener for me early last summer, before people were really even talking about the vaccine. So that made me pause a little bit, because that's not what science is. Science is just like politics. You should be able to debate both sides.
Absolutely.
And when they were shutting down the one side and they were only sticking with their narrative, it really did make me question everything moving forward after that.
Yeah. I think the thing that's hardest to watch is to see people's careers destroyed when they're really good scientists or doctors, and then you see that all of a sudden something happens to destroy their career, their reputation, because they have an opinion on it. And I think that it's taken mothers like you and fathers, right? And actually, I just watched a thing, I think you saw it too in San Diego, where the younger generation is stepping in and standing up. And it's not even against saying this is a bad vaccine. It's saying we prefer to wait until we have more data on this, and then just almost being crucified, right?
Well, I would almost take it a step further. It's not even about waiting until there's more data. It's about respecting my personal choice.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
It's an opinion. And like with me as a scientist, I never went to school and never worked for a company where I didn't get to vocalize an opinion about something. And now you can't have an opinion, because if it's not the right propaganda or right opinion, then you're basically
labeled as, or you're ostracized, or you're labeled as anti-vax, or, and now they're starting to blame the unvaccinated for the Delta variant, which I find to be super interesting, because I want to know, what test are they using to diagnose this Delta variant? Well, there is no test to diagnose it. So how do they know there's a Delta variant? So there's just so many questions I have, and I can't seem to get any answers, especially from the media. And the media barely even listens to the right questions anyway.
Well, I know that on our side with the United States, and of course I think this is where, I've traveled to so many countries that are communist countries, or that are, ruled by a dictator, and we're the United States, right? So we should have, we're freedom of choice, right? Mm-hmm. Freedom to say whatever you want, and that's been shut down. And I think as an American citizen, that's been one of the hardest things for me, not even as a scientist, but as an American citizen, to have that freedom where you feel like you don't have it anymore, or you feel like you can't go into certain circles because they will ostracize you if you have it. And I got to tell you another thing that's been hard. Based on religious belief, the criticism, I'm blown away by that, because even in you look at Russia and China, it's almost like they have more freedom of religion than we do at this point.
Seems that way.
It seems that way sometimes, and that's something that I do think it's going to take mothers. Again, I think it's going to take and fathers and intelligent people that are willing to stand up somehow. But it's going to be hard, because I do think things are censored right now.
They are, and no discredit to fathers, because fathers are great, but mothers are the ones that are really at the forefront of this movement. That I've seen, strong mothers.
Did you see that they're coming out with supposedly they're working on vaccines for the future viruses? Did you see Fauci's? I'll have to send it to you. So he made an announcement that they're working on future vaccines for the future viruses.
For the different variants?
Yeah, but I'm just different viruses, which I'm confused how we know those are coming out.
Right.
And I've been in calls where I've heard that too. But, even with my own family, who I love and adore, I would do anything for them, I'm sometimes cautious to say, my opinion on things. And I think one of the things, Mimi, the way you are able to discuss it and the way you're able to lead, we have a group of friends who are they're intelligent, very, I don't want to use the word powerful, I don't know what word I'm looking for, strong women.
Strong women, yeah.
That are not, they're problem solvers. They're looking for solutions. They're not people that are there to cause problems. But I feel like if we don't somehow have a voice and don't say what we think, we're going to cause a lot of problems for our children.
And a lot of this, with the moms getting involved, started with the masks.
Yeah.
Because
we worked on a mass project.
And we
together.
did work on a we absolutely did. And excuse me, and I do cough, and it's part of my, part of the conditions that I live with. And coughing in public during COVID, when you don't wear a mask like myself, will get you a lot of unwanted attention, I can assure you.
But Mimi, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought, but I want to say this. I keep reading that people that have autoimmune disorders or have an illness, that if you don't get vaccinated, you're hurting them. And now you're sitting here as a survivor that battles these illnesses every day, and you're saying, wait a minute, I'm the one that makes that decision, and I don't feel like getting the vaccine will protect me. And maybe even if I get the vaccine, it could hurt me, right? Well, and that's your opinion. You don't say for sure. You're looking at the facts or what you think.
So far, 27 people in Tennessee have died of COVID, and they've been double vaxxed. And so clearly something isn't connecting there, right? If you look at Israel, which is probably the most vaccinated country, they're not.
I think Cyprus is. Unfortunately, I shouldn't even talk about that on the. But Cyprus and Israel. I mean,
right?
Those are
Malta.
two
I mean, but yes, but over there they have some of the most vaccinated people in their country, and right now the United States just raised the travel level to go to Israel to a level 3 because the COVID variants are so bad over there. So if they're so vaccinated, how can COVID be spreading like wildfire over there? So things just aren't adding up for me. My bullshit meter goes off a lot lately.
And you have found ways, and I think that's why people are reaching out. You found ways to communicate that, and that's why people are reaching out to you. And that was one of the reasons for me. It's interesting. I think I've shared with you, we have some people coming up on the show that we will talk about what's going on in politics as well as the world of science during this. But it's become a almost I wouldn't even call it a political battle. Because you've got both sides, fighting for this this cause to make sure everyone in a country is vaccinated. Only the issue I'm having as a scientist is now they're saying you're going to have to keep getting boosters,
right? And
it's not even working. And my comment to that is, how many vaccines do you need to put into people before you
realize that the technology was not proper for that? It's not mitigating the issue.
And I don't think Americans know either that when you provide vaccinations to people, that the pharmaceutical companies actually put aside money that will pay for damages later.
Well, the Vaccine Corp, which was established under Ronald Reagan back in the early 80s, however, not for the COVID vaccine.
I didn't know that.
No,
they were going to, I don't know if you know this, they were going to ask for more. They were going to double it.
So as far as I am aware, there is zero liability for any of these pharmaceutical companies. And that's why so many, I think there's 80 something that are waiting right now to be approved, 80 pharmaceutical companies. Now keep in mind, the ones in the United States, Moderna, never made a vaccine, never made a drug that's made it to market, period. Like they've never had a drug make it to market. Johnson.
Do you know my patent attorney? I haven't shared this with you. My patent attorney, or one of my patent attorneys, actually worked for them on the legal case, and we just had this discussion this week. Yeah, which he represented them from a corporate, and he asked me if I knew that, and I said, yeah, I did know that.
Johnson & Johnson never made a vaccine before. I don't know. A lot of people don't know that.
They attempted to, but they weren't
never
successful.
Had a vaccine come to market. And then Pfizer, who was paid more in payouts, legal payouts to injuries than any other pharmaceutical company out there. So you've got 3 companies to choose from here in the United States, and none of them really make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. So just based on their history and their track record.
Yeah, I actually worked for some of those companies. And I actually loved working. I've shared this. Yeah. I loved working for those companies, and I think they've produced some amazing products. Mm-hmm. But I also think that, again, it's my choice whether I take, just like it's my choice if I get bronchitis, if I want to take Azithromycin or Levaquin or whatever. It's ultimately, a doctor can't make you. It's your choice,
That's right?
But for some reason in this situation, and again, I want to go back to this. You have vaccinated children. I have vaccinated children. Yeah. It's not that I'm an anti-vax like family, right?
Right. And I also want to add, and you brought up Levaquin. That's one of the drugs that I had a severe reaction to. And when I say severe reaction, just to kind of put it in layman's terms, I went from a wheelchair to a walker to a cane over a period of a year. So it ate my mitochondria. It destroyed it to where I couldn't even move. I was in so much pain. So it took a year away from my life of raising my children. My mom had to move in with us and help me raise my children because I was incapacitated over 2 pills. So when I say I have severe reactions to several drugs,
it's in their package insert, by the way. Did you know that?
Well, there's several black box warnings now, but the tendon rupture was the only one there when I took it, which I've had 2 tendons replaced already. But I had so much more than tendon rupture, but they've added several more black boxes, so now I think it's all there.
Do they compensate people when that happens?
There's class actions.
Yeah, I just wondered.
There are class actions, yes.
I've never asked that. I just wondered.
I took a generic drug though.
Okay.
Which it's if it's a generic, it's a lot harder. Yeah.
Yeah. How does your husband react to all this?
It's hard. It's hard living with a disabled wife almost. Because I have good days and I have bad days, just like anybody with health issues. It was really hard during the Levaquin fiasco. It's hard. He manages. I do more than I should on my days when I'm down, and he pitches in as needed. But I wish I could say he's wonderful and picks up right where I left off, but it's not.
He is wonderful.
He is wonderful.
Yeah,
no,
he is.
But
Yeah.
he works all the time with it. His career is important to him and important to our family. It's provided us an amazing livelihood, but it's hard to fill his plate with more stuff from my plate, and it's hard on me because of the guilt, right? I mean, that's not his responsibility to get dinner or to run carpool or laundry. Those are my responsibilities. So just like if you were to come home and ask me to put together a pro forma for a company, I wouldn't even know where to start. So it's
you'd figure it out.
It's
I mean, maybe you figure everything out.
But it has put strain on our marriage at times. Luckily, we love each other enough to get through it.
Yeah.
But it's been hard at times.
And how has he handled your opinion on mask and vaccines
So I'm very anti-mask. The way the immune system works best is for you to breathe in, oxygen.
And you have data on that.
And
you sent it to me.
And I have all sorts of data on it. The acidosis, the carbon dioxide poisoning that you can get wearing a mask, and not to mention when kids are wearing it and they're touching it all day long, it's creating more germs around their mouth. It's like a petri dish that's just sitting there on your mouth. But how does he feel about my activism, I guess is a good way to put it? He loves it. He's really proud of me for speaking out, and he says somebody needs to do it. And like I said, I have nothing to lose because my kids and my husband are everything, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I have nothing to lose.
Oh, your friends aren't either. Your true friends.
My true friends, that's right.
Yeah,
and because I've lost friends this past year.
I've lost friends this past year.
Because I've been very vocal about not masking our children in school and not mandating any type of vaccine. I've been very vocal.
So Mimi and I worked on a project with her husband, actually. No, he wasn't. We were really the one. Scott has a full-time job, and I took about a year off to do patents and to work on stuff. And I haven't shared this with Mimi, but the masks are an issue for me too, because it can be very toxic to wear a mask and to breathe in all the chemicals. So we actually worked on some provisional patents together, and they are filing by September 2nd the full patent on the detoxification product on that project that we're still involved in. We're just not doing anything right now.
Right.
We actually even did in the proposal for animals. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. To have a way to detoxify animals with different things, including a filtration system. So I met with attorneys during the last couple of weeks, and we will file those by September 2nd. So that's exciting.
It is exciting.
I don't know what we'll do with it.
And we'll do something with it. We'll do something.
Something to help people.
Yeah, and animals.
And
we
animals.
love our animals.
We love animals.
We love our animals.
We also are hoping to work soon on a project we have been discussing that has to do with animals, because we have very good animals.
We do. The best.
She has the sweetest dog. I wish we could have brought the animals here. I think Tilly's next door.
I almost brought Ziggy.
Ziggy and so they are. Yours is a
miniature cavapoo,
and then I always forget what Tilly is. She's a not Cavapoo.
Labradoodle or
a Labradoodle.
Golden Doodle.
Golden Doodle. See, I don't even know. Yeah. I just know I saw her face and thought, this is so cute. But I fell in love because of your dog. Yeah. And thought, I want something, and the Archie's dog. Yeah. Like, I want something like this dog.
And they're the best. They're sweet.
So, anyway, before we get off, I want to talk about, of this episode, I want to talk about what you've done to get through life.
I put so much faith into so many different doctors and so many different procedures or medications, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. And so what may have helped for a lot of other patients of this doctor's, didn't necessarily help for me. So, and then lastly, my family. I have a really awesome mom and dad, and I have 4 sisters and a great husband and my kids, and without them, I don't think I'd be able to sit here and to appear as healthy as I am. And again, I'm very blessed. My husband has allowed me to use our resources to go to many different types of doctors, Eastern medicine, Western medicine, everything in between. I've tried it all. And so just having the resources and the availability, and I read a lot. I'm a curious person by nature. And I ask a lot of questions. It's always been my biggest downfall, but probably also my largest attribute is I ask a ton of questions, and I'm naturally very curious. So me actually digging into research and reading medical journals and reading studies and how people reacted to different things has really helped guide me to where I am today.
And I love that, because you are the one in charge of your body. Yeah. And if you don't do that, and I tell people that all the time, they go to a doctor tells them, this is what's going to happen if you don't do this, and then they do it. And that's one way of training. Yes. That's one way of thinking. And so I love that about you. I also love your faith, and I love your family. So thank you for being on this
episode. You too. I love you too.
I love you so much, Mimi. You're such a good person, and you have so much more to give. And I know you will keep giving. So
it's only just begun.
It's only just started.
And I look at it as a fight, because right now we're in very different times than I've ever been in my lifetime. And we're in trying times right now, and it's only beginning. And we just have to keep speaking up and staying true to who we are.
I agree 100%. I feel the same way. It's not the end. There's a lot more things we're going to, there's already a chicken shortage. You can't get food. You can't get, I know this sounds odd, but like even a jar of things that you can can with, you can't get cans right now.
It's the lids you can't find.
Yeah,
it's the lids. I know.
So
it's a lot.
And we had researched that, so we're prepared for it. Yep. But I hope that the audience is prepared as well, that is watching this. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have a next episode. We're going to have another episode next week, but this has been very special to me. And I'm very thankful to have Mimi on Scientifically Beautiful, because she is beautiful, and she has used science to really help her be where she is in her life. So thank you so much. I enjoyed it a lot. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I will see you in the next episode, and I hope everyone has a fantastic week. Thank you.
Bye.